At the beginning of the game, he traversed through a battle and became the master of the Soul Hall, and his soul was destroyed. Is it the villainous tool man under the Soul Heavenly Emperor who will be killed twice by Xiao Yan? As the master of the Soul Palace, the soul is destroyed and angry. What kind of luck, child? What Soul Emperor? What ancient 8 tribes? All for this seat. Climb. The main enemy of my Soul Palace, Soul Annihilation, is to become the biggest villain. Kill Xiao Yan, step on the Soul Heavenly Emperor, intimidate all tribes, and fight invincibly on the continent of Qi. The Soul Hall of this building will be located on this Duki continent, turning clouds and rain, covering the sky with one hand. P.S. Novels by villainous fanatics, later read the results and turned to dolor. In the Qin dynasty, other major villains of the Dragon Clan, Deduction Group. 590334984, come and play. Keywords of the novel. Do Pose Opening Soul Hall Master No Pop-Ups, Do Pose Opening Soul Hall Master TXT Complete Collection Download, Do Pose Opening Soul Hall Master Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 1. Check-in, Main Divine Realm Monument. New books for collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Check-in, Main Divine Realm Monument. New books for collection. Duki Continent. Zhongzhou Wilderness. Inside the main hall of Golden Dragon and Phoenix Carving. Soul Destruction opened its eyes with a complex expression. A black-robed old man stood respectfully at the head. Gone, is Lousy actually the villain? His mouth twitched slightly, as if he still couldn't believe the fact of his time travel. Others become the protagonist through time travel, but one's own time travel is actually a major villain. The massive soul power spreads like a tide, and everything within a range of hundreds of miles is visible. On the pitch-black land, dense white bones and corpses occasionally scatter. The towering palace stands at the center of the land. Black chains crisscross between heaven and earth. It's like Senro Hell. Is this the Heavenly Hall in the Soul Hall and Heavenly Gang Hall, which is controlled by soul destruction? It's quite imposing. Sensing the terrifying pressure of the soul, black shadows rushed out from every corner of the Black Hall and knelt neatly in front of the main entrance. My subordinate, please see the Palace Master. My subordinate, please see the Palace Master. My subordinate, please see the Palace Master. A slightly hoarse respectful shout echoed through the heavens and earth, echoing for a long time in this enclosed space. As soon as the shout fell, the soul power that enveloped the entire space suddenly trembled. An invisible soul storm swept by. Puff. Puff. Under the oppression of soul power in the vast and perfect realm of heaven. The heads of the subordinates in the soul hall were heavily knocked to the ground. My body trembled violently. Everyone was in a state of panic, lifting their hearts to their throats. In the secret room, soul destruction was stunned. Being worshipped by thousands of people was the first time someone else had been born. Is this the feeling of being aloof? No wonder the gods and Buddhas all over the world also require people to kneel and worship. Cough. Cough. Get up. Soul Destruction tried hard to calm down his excited mood. Yes. His Highness Soul breathed a sigh of relief. As a supporting role, he can only show off his prestige now. Xiao Yan wants to kill me, but the Emperor of Soul is not at ease. When Xiao Yan grows up, he will have to burp his ass. Can I only be a supporting role? Soul extinction brings back the power of the soul and walks back and forth in the secret room. No way. He casually smashed the top black rock obsidian table worth millions of gold coins in front of him into powder. I want to change my fate against the heavens. Ding. DDD. Host confirmation in progress. Soul destruction, gender. Male, character nature. Villain, location. Duki continent, cultivation strength. In the early stage of Doshing 5 stars, physical fitness meets. The system is currently binding, ding. Your system has been bound, please pay attention to signing for it. Is this the benefit of being single for 20 years? I love it, said the tearful ox with tears on his face. Isn't the 5-star fighting saint plus system equivalent to the pinnacle of life? Invincible villain system, current world. Breaking through the sky, current villain value. 0, main task. Become the strongest villain, dominate the battle of the world, current task progress. 0%, congratulations host, you have a chance to sign in. Would you like to sign in immediately? Surprisingly, the system sounds like a lowly sound. The clear and beautiful lowly sound sounded, causing a slight surge of soul destruction and rebirth. Cough cough, this place is very popular, and this place is definitely not controlled by lowly. You have to trust me, duck, JPG. Sign in immediately. The surrounding time instantly froze, and the space hummed. Bang! A black stone tablet fell heavily in front of soul destruction. Ding! Congratulations to the host, successful check.in. Sign in reward. Main Divine Realm Monument. The Main Divine Realm Monument. What is this? Soul destruction was stunned as he looked at the huge stone monument that suddenly appeared. Will you only receive one broken stone when you sign? Please host carefully check the item properties. Soul destruction, half believing and half doubting, opened the attributes of the stone tablet. Main Divine Realm Steel Level 1, Item Attribute. Range Artifact, Scope of Application. Centered around the boundary monument, within a radius of 10 miles, 1. Protection of the Lord God. Within the boundary of the boundary monument, the host is able to control the Lord God's boundary monument and obtain the power of the Lord God bestowed by the Lord God's boundary monument. Within the coverage range of the Lord God's boundary monument, the host is a god with the ability to deprive all character attributes and powers within the territory. 2. Main God Store, not opened. Opening the main God Store requires 1,000 villain points to be consumed. After opening the store, you can exchange items for villain points. Note: the protection of the main deity can increase its level and expand its scope by absorbing villain points. Divine Object. Soul extinction gave birth to a chuckle. Able to deprive the other party of power within a certain range. That means he is invincible as long as he is within this boundary monument. Can it even be said to be a god? As for the main god shop, although I don't know what's inside, it must also be of great use to him. Soul destruction revealed a red light on its face, wishing to immediately pick up the system and kiss it. System. Whispering, ****, covering the face, cough, do I look like that kind of person? Soul destruction's face turned pale. Invincible range. Soul destruction's expression moved, and his palms covered the stone tablet. The surging fighting spirit condensed between the palms. The power of the Dosheng 5 stars suddenly erupted. The entire hall trembled violently, howling like the sound of a dragon. However, the stone tablet does not move its patterns. Ding, the system prompts that the main god stone tablet cannot be moved. Soul destruction sighed, obviously disillusioned with the idea of being invincible by carrying this thing with him. Soul Hall Master, Soul Hall Master. Soul destruction paced back and forth. Since he had become the Soul Hall Master, what should he do now? Continue working for the Soul Emperor. Becoming a stepping stone on Xiao Yan's path to success. He glanced at the main Divine Realm Monument. No. 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 Say important things 3 times. Working. It's impossible to work in this lifetime. Isn't it popular to be the boss and the protagonist on your own? What kind of son of luck, what kind of soul emperor, all have to submit to their own feet. Soul destruction's eyes sharpened and he turned to look at Ghost Old. He can clearly see the loyalty of Gui Lao. 100, die-hard loyalty. In other words, the life of the ghost old belongs to his soul's extinction, not to the soul clan or the soul heavenly emperor. The ghost old's body trembled with coldness as he was seen by the soul being destroyed, and the temple master seemed to have changed again. Ghost Lord, gather your hands. I want to personally go to the Northwest Territory, the Gamma Empire. The Northwest Territory. The Gamma Empire. The ghost old man was a bit puzzled. It should be just a small place, right? What does the temple master want? Soul Destruction gave a cold smile and said, murder. No. The ghost old man's expression trembled. Soul Destruction touched the throne. Since he is the villain, then Xiao Yan must die. Can you still keep Xiao Yan for the Chinese New Year without killing him? Due to editing the article, the comments may not match. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Because I am a villain, seeking collection, seeking recommendation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Because I am a villain, seeking collection, seeking recommendation. The Gamma Empire. Yuan City. On the Xiao family's martial arts training ground, there were crowds of people moving. One by one, the still young boys looked excitedly at the magic stone monument in the center of the square to test their fighting spirit. Today is a big day for the Xiao family to test their fighting spirit, which is also a consideration of the strength of all members of the Xiao family. The resources of Duqi continent are limited, and the cultivation resources of the Xiao family are even more limited. The law of the jungle is natural, and as much strength as you have, you deserve as much cultivation resources. This should not be considered a famous scene, right? Soul Extinction rubbed its chin, as it thought. The handsome face made the undeveloped girls around her feel uneasy. Alas, who calls this seat handsome and natural beauty? Soul Destruction helplessly spread out his hand. Doji Chi, 3 levels, low. Level. Unqualified. The inspector next to the Rubik stone monument loudly announced that he would record the person's test data, which caused laughter from those around him. A chubby man slowly descended from the testing station with his head down in despair. Of course, this cannot be Xiao Yan, because now is Xiao Yan's shining moment, and he is still the talented young man who is surrounded by stars. Master, everything has been arranged. Do you want to start now? Gue Lao asked softly. Ghost Old stood behind Soul Destruction, his space fluctuating slightly, and others could not see or sense his existence. Gue Lao was a bit puzzled. Why does the temple master care so much about such an inconspicuous small family? He originally thought that the temple master was going to deal with some strong person or some hidden and unknown big family. The result turned out to be just a small family that could be easily crushed, and the strongest one was just the Emperor Do hidden on the side. It's more than enough to send 2 of the lowest level guardians to deal with these people. Why bother having the temple master come in person? Let's watch the play first. Soul Destruction spoke lightly. Soul Destruction had already seen Xiao Yan, who was in the front row closest to the stands. Xiao Yan looks very confident and full of energy. Obviously, he has not yet experienced the vicissitudes of society, and the people around him all look extremely humble and pleasing to him. Xiao Xun'er and Xiao Yan stood shoulder to shoulder, dressed in a purple long skirt. The girl's slightly immature pretty face had a slight smile, calm and elegant, like a green lotus. In terms of temperament, it clearly stabilizes the people around it. At 8.05, we can't go any further. Soul Destruction embraced her chest with both hands and shook her head. A large expanse of envy and jealousy converged on these young girls, as if they were the core of this world. Next tester, Xiao Yan. The tester on the stand shouted out the name with a higher and more excited voice than before. Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan. The atmosphere at the scene was ignited, and Soul Destruction was a bit speechless, as if returning to the large scale star chasing scene of Blue Star. Brother Xiao Yan is really popular. Xun'er pretended to be angry and gave Xiao Yan a white look. Xun'er's sister is not bad either. Xiao Yan smiled. Xiao Yan, come on. Xiao Yan felt very satisfied listening to the cheers around him and confidently walked towards the high platform. As an office worker uncle, I have always been a talented young man with many stars and a son of the Xiao family leader. This is probably the pinnacle of my life. Xiao Yan, the young clan leader, started practicing Do Chi at the age of 4. By the age of 10 last year, he had already developed Judan Do Chi, which is really amazing. Young Master Xiao Yan is a genius in our Xiao family. I just don't know if young Master Xiao Yan has any breakthrough fighters. Doja is not so easy to break through. Even with the talent of the young master, it will take 2 years to gather the Do cyclone. Can I start now? Xiao Yan glanced lightly at the inspector. Of course. The inspector looked respectful, and he dared not offend this person at all. Let's make you excited a little more. Xiao Yan raised his mouth slightly and slapped the magic stone monument with his palm. The magic stone tablet emitted a brilliant golden light, and 2 large characters appeared on it. Time seems to have come to a standstill at this moment. Do. 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 The inspector beside was stunned. 11-year-old fighter. This child's talent is so terrifying. Congratulations to young Master Xiao Yan for successfully consolidating the Do cyclone and becoming the youngest Do fighter in the Xiao family's century-long history. No, he should be the youngest Do fighter in the century-long history of Wutan City. The whole scene fell silent for a moment, and then erupted into intense shouts. Xiao Zhan stood up from the seat excitedly, tears streaming down his face. Our Xiao family has finally produced a genius that we haven't seen in 100 years. Ancestors have appeared, ancestors have appeared. Young Master Xiao, young Master Xiao. Genius, genius. The intense shout echoed through the sky. Xiao Yan was full of energy and was about to climb down the stairs. Genius. At this moment, a light voice emanated from the crowd. Are you joking? Xiao Yan looked coldly at the handsome young man in a black robe who walked out of the crowd. What do you mean by that? Xiao Yan clenched his fists tightly. If it weren't for his image, he would have already taken action. Xiao Yan stood on the high platform, looking down at the black-robed youth, but felt like he was the one being looked down upon. The young man in black robes is like a boundless starry sky in front of him. What does it mean? Soul Destruction gave a faint smile, stepped step by step into the void, and said word by word. At the age of 3, I started practicing Qi. At the age of 4, I became a Do master. At 8, I became a Do master. At 11, I was already at the peak of the Do king. The words genius are not suitable for you. This kid is crazy. A 4-year-old fighter, doesn't he even make sketches when boasting? The members of the Xiao family couldn't help but laugh at the words of soul destruction. However, when they saw the action of soul extinction, they all froze in place. Empty steps in the air. This is something that at least a strong dozong can do. They can't afford to provoke such strong people. Ding! Congratulations to the host for achieving the achievement of Villain's Appearance, reward villain value. 100 points. Soul Destruction was momentarily taken aback, and with just a few words, would he get 100 villain points? This is too easy to hold, isn't it? 11-year-old Dowang Peak. Are seniors playing tricks on juniors? Xiao Yan saw the power of soul destruction and let out a deep breath. Faced with the strong, he could only swallow his pride. 30 years in the east and 30 years in the west of the river, if possible, they will be reclaimed in the future. Soul Destruction spread out his hand. A frog at the bottom of a well is like this. In the ancient tribe, those who only gathered the fighting cyclone at the age of 11 and advanced to the battle, according to the rules of the ancient tribe, are likely to be expelled from the ancient tribe and live and die on their own. What do you think? Miss Xun'er, said Soul Destruction, with a slight upward smile on her lips. Soul Destruction turned its meaningful gaze towards Xun'er, and her face changed. How could this person in front of me know my identity? Isn't it only a few supreme elders who know about her being sent to the Shao family besides her father? Ding, congratulations to the host for completing the mission of anti-deterrence, with a villain value of +100. Why did you come to my Shao family, senior? Xiao Zhan quickly came out to smooth the situation. What's going on? Soul Destruction smiled kindly and then uttered 2 words. Kill people. The surroundings seemed to instantly drop by more than 10 degrees, icy and piercing. What? Everyone was stunned. Before he could finish speaking, his soul disappeared into place, and one palm had already passed through Xiao Yan's chest. Xiao Yan widened his eyes, unable to believe everything. Why? His pupils were filled with blood. Not willing to accept it. Shouldn't I be the protagonist? Isn't the pinnacle of one's life just beginning? How did it become like this? Goodbye, fellow villager. The cold words echoed in Xiao Yan's ears for the last time, and the black flames burned Xiao Yan's body and soul into nothingness. Xiao Yan, die. Because I am the villain. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Desperate Xun'er. Seeking collection, seeking recommendation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Desperate Xun'er. Seeking collection, seeking recommendation, Brother Xiao Yan. No one expected this sudden scene, let alone react in time. Xiao Yan, the idol of the Shao family who was just recognized as the hope for the rise of the Shao family, was killed like this. Not even the body was left behind, it was like a dream. Xun'er. Xiao Zhan cried out heart-wrenching. Brother Xiao Yan. Xun'er's mind was blank, except for her father and the uncles of the ancient tribe. The closest person to her in this world was Brother Xiao Yan. But now, Brother Xiao Yan is just like this, dead. Her eyes instantly turned red, and crystal-clear tears flowed over her delicate face, dripping down. Ding, congratulations to the host. Successfully killed the son of Qi Yun and achieved the achievement of changing destiny against heaven. Reward villain value. 3,000 points. Soul annihilation killed Xiao Yan, and his expression remained calm and composed. Xiao Yan's body and soul turned into nothingness with a loud bang. A black ring and a long emerald green jade pendant fell to the ground. The jade pendant is emerald green and rustic, with complex patterns but broken marks, seemingly incomplete. That's the Tuasha ancient emperor jade. After Xun'er's expedition, she finally found out why the mysterious person in front of her wanted to kill Brother Xiao Yan. It was indeed for the sake of Tuasha Gu Du. Damn it. You're giving me back my life. Xiao Zhan was struck by lightning, and it took him a while to recover. The pain of losing his son was like a knife twisting. The raging lion is furious. The fighting spirit of the whole body transforms into a fierce lion, a mid-level combat skill of the Xian level. Clan leader. Several loyal elders around showed bloodshot in their eyes and took action at the same time. The flashy fighting skills were dazzling, and the strong wind shattered the ground. Terrifying. Courage is commendable, let me give you a thumbs up first. Soul Destruction shook his head. However, in the dark forest, being weak is original sin. Soul Destruction lifted its palm and its 5 fingers suddenly merged into a cage. Bang bang bang. The continuous sound of explosions enveloped most of the square in red mist, and Xiao Zhan, along with more than 10 people rushing forward, turned into blood mist. The bloody smell wafts in the wind, stimulating everyone's nerves. Clan leader, was he killed? After an instant of silence, the crowd in the square began to riot, crying and shouting. Soul Destruction shook its head, and since the bad thing had been done, it naturally had to be done to the end. Not leaving any future troubles is what the villain should do. Hands on, people of the Shao clan. Leave no one behind. The sound of soul extinction echoes vigorously throughout the entire space. Yes. Nearly 100 figures in black robes appeared from all over, and even the weakest had the strength of the Do King, including 2 Do Xuns. Killing chickens with an ox knife is a habit of soul destruction. The fierce tiger and the fighting rabbit also use all their strength, but the soul can't afford to slack off at all. Who knows if there will be any changes after killing the son of Qi Yun. The incessant screams echoed through the heavens and earth, turning this place into a mortal hell. Xun'er looked around anxiously, but couldn't see any trace of Ling Lao. Are you looking for this old guy? Soul destruction casually pointed. Then, with a loud thud, an old man covered in blood was thrown in front of Xun'er. Ling Lao. Xun'er's heart seemed to fall into a vast abyss. Mississippi, run quickly. Ling Lao had a big hole in his chest, and after persistently speaking the last sentence, he lost his breath. Hall Master. Gue Lao's hand was stained with blood and he knelt down on one knee. Soul destruction nodded. I'm going to kill you. My dear one was repeatedly killed, and Xun'er finally lost her sanity, her eyes turning into a pale golden color. Seal broken. Xun'er's breath climbed step by step, and golden flames surged out, devouring most of the square. The entire square began to crumble, and the fighting spirit was burned out. A golden dragon rushed towards it. Did Emperor Jin burn the scorching fire of the sky? Looking at the oncoming dragon, soul destruction suddenly opened its hands. Ban men play the axe, fireflies dare to compete with the bright moon. Boom! The ultimate dark flame burst out from the body of Soul Destroyer, and in an instant, it burned the flame of the Golden Emperor into nothingness. This is Void Swallow's inflammation. Xun'er spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Soul Destruction stretched lazily, and with his ability to fight the Holy 5 Stars, no one could take a single move in his hand. Invincible is really lonely. Xun'er gritted her teeth and took out the space scroll given by her father Gu Yuan from the ring, tearing it in half. This is already her only hope. Soul extinction did not stop, but quietly stepped into the void and watched everything as if watching a play. The spatial scroll is torn, and the surrounding space fluctuates, emitting a buzzing and trembling sound, with faint signs of impending fragmentation. However, after a few breaths, the trembling sound became a pause. Pop it. The spatial fluctuations caused by the scroll returned to nothingness. How? Maybe. Xun'er's face was full of despair. How could the spatial scroll be useless? Soul Destruction gave a gentle smile and raised its hand to snap its fingers, causing the surrounding world to instantly darken. A black spatial barrier appeared in the sky, enveloping the entire city of Yutun. He had already isolated the entire city before he came. Create your own space. You are the Holy Do. Xun'er's eyes showed a look of despair, and she fainted before her eyes. Master of the palace, a total of 404 members of the Shao family have been captured, and no one has escaped. Gilatong reported. Soul Destruction nodded and picked up Xun'er, taking a glance below. As soon as he raised his hand, the emptiness engulfed the entire Shao family, and the black flames burned fiercely. With just a few dozen breaths, the entire Shao family was flattened and turned into coke. Ding! Congratulations to the host for achieving the achievement of Eternal Evil. Reward villains with 3,000 points and completely eliminate the son of Qi Luck. Additional reward. Chaos Swallowing Heaven Decision, additional reward. God Control Puppet Technique. Chaos Swallowing Heaven Technique. Chaos accompanies the cultivation technique, which can devour all energy in the world, spiritual sources, blood vessels, and other forces of heaven and earth to be used, achieving the body of the Holy Spirit and seizing the creation of the universe. Control God puppet art. Life is like a play, relying entirely on acting skills, dancing the strings of life. The life forms implanted with the God control technique will become puppets in your hands, at your disposal. Only by being a villain can one become stronger. It seems that I have taken this villain for granted. Soul Destruction spread out his hand. With great power there must come great responsibility. Let the world tremble as villains, starting from the destruction of souls. Send this command. Block the entire city of Yuan. No one is allowed to enter or exit. Violators, soul pumping and soul refining, bone crushing and ashes lifting. Yes. Master. A series of black-robed people surrounded the city of Yuan, leaving the entire city isolated from the world. Ghost Old followed behind Soul Destruction and hesitated to speak. Destroyed the Shao family, seized the Tuasha ancient Emperor Jade, and robbed the Grand Miss of the ancient clan. Even though he was foolish, he had already guessed what the Palace Master wanted to do. From this moment on, the Soul Palace will be independent of the Soul Clan and will only be controlled by one Soul Destroyer. Ghost Old, are you afraid? Soul extinction does not turn back. An ancient tribe, a Soul Emperor, and countless people and forces in Zhongzhou who want to kill us. Are you afraid? It's hell ahead. I'm not afraid, my life was given by the Temple Master, I don't hesitate to die. Gue Lao did not hesitate at all. Soul Destruction gave Ghost Old a second glance, although it was a bit hard to remember what the original Soul Destruction had done to Ghost Old. But he also knows that even the worst villain has emotions. Without saying anything more, Soul Destroyer waved his hand and shattered the space, returning to the main hall of the Soul Hall with Gue Lao and the other high-level members of the Soul Hall. After imprisoning Gu Xun'er, Soul Destruction came back to the main Divine Realm Monument. His current villain value is 6,200, and opening the store function of the main Divine Realm Monument is more than enough. I just don't know what good things this store can have. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. 1 Yuan Heavy Water and Medicine Lord. Seeking collection, seeking recommendation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. 1 Yuan Heavy Water and Medicine Lord. For collection, for recommendation. I don't know what good things can be found in this mall. Soul Destruction looked at the main Divine Realm Monument and rubbed his hands, pressing it onto the black stone tablet. At the moment when Soul Destruction's palm pressed on the stone tablet, an invisible halo spread out instantly centered around the tablet. The range covered by the halo is not much, just about 10 miles away. Everything within the halo appears before our eyes. There are a total of 22 people within a 10-mile radius, excluding oneself. Among them are 20 Soul Hall guards at the Dozong level, Ghost Elder with semi-holy power hidden in the dark, and Gu Xun'er who is imprisoned. The cultivation strength, loyalty level, and even emotional state of everyone are presented in a data-driven form in the mind of Soul Destruction. The loyalty of the Soul Palace guards is generally around 70, while the Ghost Old is always 100, while Gu Xun'er's lowest is only 30 and even continues to decline. These people, including the semi-saint Ghost Elder, were peered at by Soul Destruction with the help of the main Divine Realm Monument but knew nothing. Soul Destruction has a feeling that in just one thought, these people will be permanently wiped out and disappear into this world. Is this God? Soul Destruction and Growth breathed a sigh of relief, calming their mood. Ding, your villain value has reached the requirement to unlock the Zhutian Mall. Do you want to spend 1,000 villain values to unlock the mall? Unlock now. A vast expanse of white light flashed by. Ding dong. The function of Zhutian Mall has been officially launched. The virtual operation interface appears in front of Soul Destruction. The mall is divided into 6 sections. Talismans, formations, elixirs, weapons, cultivation points, and skills. Yin-Yang Life and Death Talisman Product Level. God Level Product Attribute. Immortal Family Talisman Product Function. Reversing yin and yang, swapping heaven and earth, the 3 realms and 6 realms, resurrecting the dead. The Immortal Family Talisman of Resurrection. Love it. Buy it. Price: 30 million. Villain value: Chaos Opening Axe Product Level. Chaos God Level Product Attribute. Chaos Treasure Product Function. To create heaven and earth, to create all things, to destroy gods and destroy the Tao, and to create and inhabit the universe. Price: 80 million. Villain value: 9 Holy Buddha Lights Product Level. Saint Level Product Attribute. Holy Level Technique Product Function. Universal 6 Realms of Life, dispel evil spirits from heaven and earth, protect the body with holy light, and be immune to all damage. Price: 60 million. Villain value: stupid. Soul destruction feels really foolish, and the 5,200 villain points in his hands suddenly lose their fragrance. Poor. I'm really poor. With this villainous value, I'm embarrassing the villain. The corner of soul destruction's mouth twitched, and he could only look towards something that was almost there. D Pin Chu Dan 3 million. Villain value: Jiupin Thunder Spirit. 500,000 villain points. Heavenly Level Skill. 100,000 villain points. Heavenly Level Combat Skill. 30,000 villain points. A treacherous merchant, even worse than a silly goose. Soul destruction couldn't help but jump and curse. A roll of sky-breaking fighting skills also costs 30,000 villain points. Is it possible that the Palace Master's injury has recurred? Gue Lao watched as soul destruction pressed his palm on the strange stone tablet and spoke frantically, looking worried. It seems that when should Mu Gu Zun Lao come back to show the Temple Master? Soul destruction is about to explode with anger. He can't afford anything good with such a villainous value. But seeing it in the end almost made him laugh, and even buy cars on earth with villain value. When the day comes when I break through duty and spend 100 or 200 villains worth buying a Lamborghini poison to play around. Stupid. Fighting Emperor ahead. How dare and get off the car and fight. Yi smiled. Soul destruction kicked the stone tablet and said, Great treacherous merchant. 1000. Ding. You have successfully spent 1,000 villain points to randomly select discounted items. Wishing the host a pleasant transaction. Soul destruction. Ding, congratulations. You have obtained the special purchase right of 1 Yuan Heavy Water, 9th grade, can evolve. Special sale price. 10,000 villain value. Oh Huang possessed body. Soul destruction is really laughing this time. In his past life, he, a non-chieftain who has never won an SSR in 10 consecutive draws, actually had the day to transform into the European Emperor. 1 Yuan Heavy Water is one of the top 10 innate divine waters. Even if it's just a 9th grade, it's far beyond the ordinary fire here. 1 Yuan Heavy Water, the origin of innate divine water is divided into grades 1 to 9, with grades above grade 9 being earthly, heavenly, and sacred. A drop weighing over 10,000 pounds can transform into lakes, rivers, and seas. The holy products 1 Yuan Heavy Water can easily overturn a world's water source power. Original selling price. 3 million villain value. Soul destruction stared blankly at the dark water droplets floating inside the main divine realm monument. Even though they were separated from the main divine realm monument, he could vaguely feel the inexplicable suppression. The void-swallowing flame within the body was restless, and soul destruction could even feel the fear emanating from the void-swallowing flame. A hot and dry heat spread from within the body. Is chaos-swallowing heaven determined to operate on its own? It's no wonder that chaos-swallowing the sky is a chaos-accompanying technique, and such innate items are top-notch supplements. Soul destruction is also envious. If he refines this drop of divine water, his strength will definitely increase exponentially. However, the problem now is, I am poor. After spending 2,000 villain points, he only has 4,200 villain points left. The divine object was right in front of me, and I could only watch it, feeling depressed. Soul Destruction sighed helplessly and left the main divine realm monument. They had to wait until they had accumulated enough villain value before redeeming it. After pondering for a while, he suddenly took out a ring from his arms. The ring appears black and has a very antique texture. Come out, old man. Soul Destruction ejected the ring and suspended it in mid-air. The ring was quietly suspended without any movement. Not coming out. Soul Destruction's fingertips flicked lightly, and a void-swallowing fire rushed towards the ring. Shio! A sound of breaking through the air suddenly sounded, and a faint black aura swiftly swept towards the outside of the main hall with remnants. Want to run? The voice of Soul Destruction grew cold. Wow! The black chain appeared from the palm of Soul Destruction's hand, and after breaking through the space, it plopped through the black shadow. Ah! The painful scream echoed in the main hall. Soul Extinction retracts the chain and locks the almost transparent soul body onto the golden pillar in the main hall. The old man's soul was dignified and bloodless, trembling all over. Yao Chen, TSK, the first genius alchemist who was once known as the medicine master, can only survive by shrinking within the bone inflammation ring. Sad, sigh, Soul Destruction sighed as he carried his hands on his back. Ding! Congratulations on completing the task, irony of the villain. Reward villain value. 300 points. He is the medicine lord. The ghost old appeared and looked incredulously at the soul body with disheveled hair locked on the temple pillar. Is this the soul hall? This is not the soul hall, is it still your home? Humph, little one, when my name shook the mainland, you probably hadn't been born yet. Yao Chen's face turned cold. Soul Destruction is not angered. If we only consider age and seniority, this old man does have some qualifications. His mouth slightly raised and he said, "Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. I forgot about this seat. You should already be homeless." As a member of the medicine clan, the feeling of being expelled from the medicine clan should be uncomfortable. Upon hearing the words, Yao Chen's breath froze and a large expanse of forest white flames erupted from his body. This sentence seems like a sharp long needle piercing into the heart of medicine dust, causing 10,000 critical damage points. The flames fiercely burned the black chains, making a sizzling sound, and the soul's breath was engulfed in large flames. The temperature around suddenly dropped sharply. Ding! Congratulations on completing the task, Anti-Mockery, Advanced. You have earned 800 points of anti-value. The Bone Spirit Cold Fire ranked 11th. The ghost old man's expression also moved slightly. This is not a sub-fire, but the fire of the origin. How dare a soul be arrogant in front of me? Hee hee. Soul Destruction gave a sneer and said, "Get out of this seat." A terrifying soul power surged out, and the entire hall trembled. The Bone Spirit Cold Fire rolled back, instantly retracting back into the body of Yao Chen. The soul power of the heavenly realm's great perfection. Yao Chen is horrified. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. It's better to put medicine on the shelf to generate dust. Seeking collection, seeking recommendation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. It's better to put medicine on the shelf to generate dust. For collection, for recommendation. Boom. Just as Yao Chen was about to break free from the shackles, he let out a muffled groan and slammed heavily into the golden pillar inside the hall. The Bone Spirit and Cold Fire were all forced back into their bodies uncontrollably. The soul power of the heavenly realm is so full. Yao Chen's face changed. As an alchemist, the cultivation of soul power is far more important than physical cultivation. His soul power far exceeds that of ordinary people, and when he obtained the title of the first alchemist in Zhongzhou, he was already at the peak of the mid-heaven realm. Unfortunately, it is impossible to break through to the later stage of the heavenly realm no matter what. And the person in front of him is not only younger than himself, but also a Dousheng, and his soul power has reached the level of great perfection in the heavenly realm. Yao Chen felt as if he had aged a decade again, with a strong sense of frustration lingering in his heart. Ding, congratulations to the host. Deal a mind whip to the medicine lord, with a villain value of plus 1000. The already weak soul body was severely damaged, and its body became increasingly illusory, as if it could break and disappear at any time. If you are still physically present, the Peak Dozuan and the 11th ranked Bone Spirit Cold Fire can barely catch the eye of this seat. Unfortunately, now you are only worthy of being the fish on my chopping board. Soul Destruction raised its hand and black chains flew out from around the Soul Palace. A loud bang 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 bang. Ah, the soul body of medicine dust was penetrated time and time again, and the surrounding yin wind was raging. One by one, fierce ghosts pounced on medicine dust's soul body, tearing and gnawing on it. At this moment, the main hall of the heavenly gang hall in the soul hall has transformed into an 18-story Senluo hell. A mournful scream echoed through the entire soul hall. The guards of the soul palace trembled and their loyalty points continued to rise. Temple Master, it's too scary. Gui Lao nodded. This is the Temple Master he knew. Devil, big devil, Dad, come and save Xun'er. In the dark dungeon, upon hearing the screams coming from the main hall, Gu Xun'er curled up in a corner, trembling and crying silently. Ding, your villain value plus 500. Ding, your villain value plus 800. Ding, your villain value plus 1000. 3 consecutive system prompts sounded, and within half a cup of tea, the villain value had already increased by 4,400 points. Plus the remaining 4,200 points before, there is only 1,400 points left to exchange for the villain value of 1 yuan of heavy water. Soul Destruction looked at the dying medicine dust and finally stopped. If you still recognize the identity of the master of this hall, then kill me, the old man. I, Yao Chen, will not suffer such humiliation. Yao Chen's eyes were covered in bloodshot. I hope there is no illness in the world. It would be better to put medicine on the shelf to produce dust. Master of medicine, good backbone. Soul Destruction is a sincere admiration this time, without any false elements. The life of Yao Lao is admirable. He is upright and never gives up, and his teacher is diligent and responsible. Without him, Xiao Yan would never have the qualification to become the Emperor of Dou. Unfortunately, I'm just a villain. Soul Destruction sighed lightly and raised his hand to grab the bone inflammation ring in his hand. Yao Chen's face suddenly changed and he said, there is a soul imprint on the bone inflammation ring. Without my bone spirit cold fire, it is absolutely impossible. Bang! Yao Chen's words came to a sudden halt only halfway through. The bone inflammation ring exploded into pieces in the hands of Soul Destruction, but the power of the space that should have been shattered due to disorder was forcibly stabilized by Soul Destruction. A large amount of spiritual medicine materials and skill scrolls fell to the ground. You forgot, I am Dousheng. Soul Destruction didn't take a second glance at anything else, only grabbed a black scroll. How could you, as the master of the Soul Hall, be so devoted to a scroll of lower-grade yellow-level martial arts? Yao Chen pretended to be relaxed, but cold sweat oozed from his body. I just hope that Soul Destruction will not discover any abnormalities in this cultivation method. The burning decision falls into the hands of the Soul Hall, and it's over. Heavenly level cultivation technique, burning decision. It's truly surprising that it's so ordinary and unremarkable. Soul Destruction, Life Chong, Medicine Dust smiled. How do you know this thing is in my hands? Yao Chen lowered his head, his eyes losing color. Soul Destruction spread out his hand and said, "One day, you will understand why metal and iron tools can also fly in the sky, and even humans who don't know how to fight have the ability to easily destroy the world. Perhaps you will know why I know you have this skill in your hand. Ha ha ha. I wasted my life fighting against heaven and fighting against fate, but today I have come to such an end. Goodbye, Soul Destruction." Yao Chen suddenly looked up. His soul twisted violently, and the fighting spirit around him became boiling. Not good, he wants his soul to explode. Guilao's face changed. What is the power of Dozuan Peak soul body combined with the 11th ranked flame self-explosion? At least enough to level the entire Tiangang Hall. Does the soul self-destruct? Ha! Soul Destruction gave a sneer, took a step out, and appeared in the void in front of Yao Chen. With just one raise of his hand, he pressed his palm onto the heavenly spirit cover of medicine dust. If this seat does not allow you to die, then you cannot die. Chaos swallows the sky and determines the rotation of the Zhou Tian, as if the vast atmosphere from the beginning of chaos suppresses all directions, like an emperor ruling the world. The chaotic fighting spirit, abnormal fire, and the energy of the soul body were all consumed without resistance into the body of the Soul Destruction. Soul Destruction gave a sharp look in its eyes. The soul power of the heavenly realm suddenly invaded the soul of medicine dust. Soul searching. There are too many things available for utilization in the memory of Yao Chen. This is an opportunity that cannot be missed. Yao Chen's soul was tormented to the extreme by the soul lock, and coupled with the huge gap in realm, he had no ability to resist at all. The vast amount of information converges into the sea of consciousness of soul destruction. If he hadn't had a similar experience before, he might have had a headache for a while again this time. The memory includes his experience of traveling to the mainland, lifelong alchemy experience, martial arts classics, and the entrance to the medicine clan. Jiuyo Fengyan, Turtle Spirit and Earth Fire are all in the medicine clan, and he will have to go there sooner or later. After the soul search, Yao Chen's soul body had lost consciousness and became elusive, with soul energy constantly overflowing outward. I can't live anymore. Soul Destruction shook its head, raised its hand, and a black flame surged out, instantly turning the soul of medicine dust into nothingness. The former first alchemist in the mainland fell from grace. From the beginning, Yao Chen was destined to die. Soul Palace and medicine dust can only live one, even with the control god puppet technique. Soul Destruction has no intention of keeping him alive. The hatred is too deep, staying behind can only become a disaster. Soul Destruction weighed the burning decision technique in his hand. A massive influx of soul power, after memorizing all the content, crushed it into pieces. Funju has little significance to him now. In terms of martial arts, chaos swallows the sky and never knows how much stronger it is. However, it's not too much to have it in hand. It's better to have it in one's own hands than in the hands of others. Medicine Emperor, Han Feng, Falling Heart Flame, Sea Heart Flame. We still need to find an opportunity to go to the Black Horn domain. Ding, congratulations. Successfully killed important plot characters, villain value plus 5,000. 5,000 points of villain value. It truly deserves to be the golden finger of a pig's foot. Soul Destruction was overjoyed. 1 yuan of heavy water, isn't that enough? I don't know how powerful the rumored innate divine water is. Hee, I'm really looking forward to it. Soul Destruction rubbed his hands and eagerly approached the main divine realm monument, ready to exchange it. A figure in a black robe suddenly broke in and knelt down on one knee. Master, the heavenly sovereign of the palace has arrived. There's still one more update today. End of this chapter. Did I let you go in chapter 6? For collection, for recommendation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Did I let you go in chapter 6? For collection, for recommendation. Hall Master, 2 heavenly sovereigns, seeking to see you. A heavenly level protector appeared from the shadow like a ghost, kneeling on one knee and reporting. The Soul Palace Protector is divided into 3 levels. Heavenly level, earthly level, and human level. The Heavenly Soul Hall Protector in front of us is at the peak of Dozong's strength. Soul Destruction and Ghost Old exchanged a glance, and Ghost Old nodded. The fluctuating figures in the surrounding space quietly disappeared into the Soul Hall. Soul Destruction waved his sleeve robe and turned to sit on the throne. Step back, everyone has already arrived. What? The Protector was startled and looked around but couldn't see a single figure. Soul Destruction smiled lightly and looked up at a corner of the hall. Air Tianzun has come from a long distance, and this cup of wine from here will bring the wind and dust to Air Tianzun. Soul Destruction calmly filled a glass of wine and flicked his finger to send it out. Whoosh, the wine glass wrapped in fighting spirit burst out of the air, producing a sonic boom in mid-air, even slightly distorting the surrounding space. The glass filled with wine is like a shooting star falling from the sky towards the corner of the hall, about to collide with the dragon and phoenix pillars inside. Pop. A pale and withered hand reached out and happened to hold the wine glass in its palm. The wine in the glass shook and scattered 3 or 2 drops on the ground. A figure slowly emerged from the darkness, with a pair of green and eerie eyes that were extremely prominent. Her whole body was dry and thin, exuding a lifelike skeleton. 2 heavenly sovereigns, Bon Yuyu, see the palace master. Guyu drank all the wine in his glass and threw it back onto the table of Soul Destruction. He then respectfully bowed to Soul Destruction on the throne and said, "The Lord of the Palace has issued an edict. Do you have any instructions?" Soul Destruction smiled and pointed to the seat next to him. "Don't worry, Guyu Tianzun. We haven't all arrived yet. Is there anyone else?" Guyu was momentarily taken aback, and his gaze swept over him. It was only then that he realized that there were indeed 6 or 7 positions in the main hall. Did the Temple Master invite other heavenly sovereigns? Guyu frowned, but seeing that Soul Destruction seemed unwilling to say anything more, she could only sit down. The palm under the Guyu sleeve robe trembled slightly, indicating that the wine glass that had just been popped out after receiving Soul Destruction was not as easy as it appeared on the surface. The underlying fighting spirit is enough to kill an ordinary Dozun. Can this be considered a downward pressure? A bad premonition appeared in his heart, although he didn't know what the main hall was doing, he had a vague guess. Soul Hall, the sky is changing. Soul Destruction doesn't care what Guyu is thinking, just lazily sits on the throne, half squinting at the outside of the palace. After half a cup of tea, the corner of his mouth slightly raised and said, "Here we go." Although the voice was not loud, as a semi-saint, Guyu naturally could hear it clearly. Did the people from the Temple Master and others come? He was just thinking about it when the fighting spirit in the sky outside the hall suddenly rolled violently, and the thunderous roar echoed through the sky. The surrounding world was dark, and in an instant, the wind and clouds changed. A deep and hoarse voice emanated from the void. "Jie jie jie, it seems that I came late. TSK, Guyu, you've come so fast, you're actually 1 step earlier than my heavenly master." The black wind swept by, and a middle-aged man in a black robe appeared in front of the hall. The middle-aged man had a somewhat sinister appearance, his eyes deeply sunken into his sockets, and he was looking at Guyu with a smile on his face. De Tianzun. Guyu was shocked, he didn't expect that the person waiting for the main hall was actually De Tianzun. His strength is a semi-saint, while the great heavenly lord is a real Do Shing 2 stars. Even if they are both heavenly princes, their status cannot be equated. Just as Guyu was about to answer, a rough shout came from the sky, and the powerful fighting spirit formed a massive blood-red cloud that surged past, blocking the sky and sun. De Tianzun, with our queen, how can you be considered late? Another series of 3 figures stepped out of the void, landed outside the hall, followed by the great heavenly lord and stepped into the hall. It seems that the Tianzun's prestige is not small. Soul Destruction revealed a thoughtful expression. The 4 heavenly sovereigns Blood River, the 6 heavenly sovereigns Soul June, and the 8 heavenly sovereigns Imprisonment. TSK, the master of the palace has such great skills. Did he invite the 9 heavenly sovereigns together? The Tianzun looked at Soul Annihilation and smiled softly. There was a hint of evil energy and surprise in the Tianzun's smile, but only no respect. Soul Destruction gave birth to Renjiu with a lazy appearance, and he was not surprised by the reaction of the Heavenly Lord. Will the soul race be made of iron? Ghostly Talent believes. The composition of the Soul Palace is particularly complex. Most of the high-level members are recommended by internal members of the Soul Clan, while a small portion are trained from a young age. As for the large-scale Dozong Dohuang battles in the middle and lower levels, more of them are death attendants stacked with pills, and their strength can only stop here forever. According to my own memory, the Great Heavenly Lord was named Soul Evil, not only the Great Heavenly Lord of the Soul Hall, but also the person recommended to the Soul Hall by the Elder Soul Slayer, one of the 4 saints of the Soul Clan. In addition, his strength is also in the middle stage of Xun'er Xing, and even the original Soul Destruction life should be respected by 3 points. However, it's a pity that I am no longer the original Soul Extinction. For Heavenly Sovereign Blood River, see the Palace Master. 6 Heavenly Sovereigns, see the Palace Master. 8 Heavenly Sovereigns Prison, see the Lord of the Palace. Several people saluted one after another, but the Great Heavenly Lord only bowed slightly. I don't know why the Temple Master called us here. The Great Heavenly Lord's gaze swept over the group of Heavenly Sovereigns and he spoke up and asked. The last time the Heavenly Sovereigns gathered, it should have been during the extermination of the Qin family. 2 3-star Do Saints and 1 1-star Do Saints reached their peak, using 7 Heavenly Sovereigns to wipe out the entire Qin family. The 8 Heavens prisoner embraced his chest with both hands and spoke. Are we going to exterminate a large force or family again? Blood River licked his lips with a look of blood devouring in his eyes and an excited expression on his face. Is it okay, can't we just talk to all the Heavenly Sovereigns? It's boring. The Great Heavenly Lord stood up and arched his hand as he walked towards the outside of the hall. If that's all, I'll bid farewell, he said. Stop. The cold words echoed in the hall, and the powerful soul power oppressed everyone. The faces of everyone who had just been indifferent all changed. Did I let you go? This chapter has been repeated several times, but I feel like it's not good enough. Let's just do it this way. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. This is a proposition. Seeking collection, seeking recommendation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. This is a proposition. For collection, for recommendation. Has this seat allowed you to leave? The cold words of soul destruction and rebirth echoed inside the main hall, and the massive soul power overwhelmed the 5 heavenly sovereigns, causing everyone's faces to change. The Tianzun clenched his fist and met the 4 eyes of soul destruction. Remember your identity, this seat is the master of the soul hall. Soul destruction snorted coldly and slapped the table with a slap. The fierce wind formed by the fighting spirit shattered countless cracks on the ground, just as it blasted past the Great Heavenly Lord and lifted his robe. Bang! The strong wind howled out of the main hall, and the door slammed shut, trapping everyone inside. The Palace Master. This is. Guyoshua River and others were restless, not knowing what the Temple Master was going to do. Ding, system prompt, villain value plus 500, take your seat, Heavenly Lord. Soul destruction regained its lazy appearance, as if nothing had happened just now. The Tianzun gritted his teeth and entered the seat. With his own strength as the 2 stars of Doshan, a mere door is just a decoration in front of him. Moreover, His background and identity are presented here, and even soul destruction would never dare to take action. I'll see what tricks you're up to. The other heavenly sovereigns, seeing the strength of soul destruction, dared not touch his brow. This is a hongmen banquet. So. The show has begun. Soul Destruction's gaze sharpened, and with a wave of his sleeve and robe, an endless black fighting spirit erupted, covering most of the soul hall. Master, are you here? The 5 heavenly sovereigns were shocked and almost ready to take action. Wow, jia. Amidst the black fighting spirit, chains spiraled and twisted into a giant dragon, and countless ghosts and spirits possessed the dragon, emitting a strange and piercing cry. Bang! Chain strikes on the dome of the main hall. Space shattered. Black chains crisscrossed before everyone's eyes. Every chain imprisons a soul body. A black robe protector of the soul hall is waving chains and mercilessly whipping these soul bodies. The black soul is scorching the various soul bodies. Ah, oh, soul extinction, even if I were a ghost, I wouldn't let you go. Soul perishes, you must die hard. Please spare my life, please let me go, kill me. Kill me. Life is better than death, this is the hell of Xun'er. The piercing cries of ghosts echoed through the entire soul hall, stimulating everyone's nerves. Ding, system prompt, your villain value plus 2000. People are like knives and I am like fish and meat. Kill a chicken before a monkey. The faces of De Tianzun and Guyu were ugly. Soul Destruction sees all the expressions in its eyes, it's time. He nodded at the old ghost who appeared by his side at an unknown time. The old ghost understood and stepped into the air, reaching out to all the soul bodies. You guys step back, the ghost old man ordered in an old voice. Yes. The soul palace protectors have all withdrawn. The 5 heavenly sovereigns looked at each other, unsure of what soul destruction was about to do. The 5th one on the left. The 3rd one on the right. Soul extinction spoke in a faint voice. The old ghost's black fighting spirit surged between his hands, grabbing both soul bodies one by one, and the black chain shattered with 2 loud bangs. In a breath, 2 soul bodies were thrown onto the ground. Soul Destruction nodded and Ghost Old turned around and retreated. 2 soul bodies curled up on the ground, trembling and trembling. Get up here. The sound of soul destruction exploded in the ears of 2 confused soul bodies. 2 soul bodies stood up trembling and trembling. Both soul bodies are very weak and may collapse at any time. Judging by age and strength. One is in middle age, at the peak of Emperor Do. One is an 8 or 9-year-old child, who has just completed a 1-star battle. Master, are you? Blood River couldn't help but ask. Soul destruction swept over the 5 heavenly sovereigns below, and their fingertips tapped on the throne with a clattering sound. Soul destruction glanced at the 2 soul bodies and raised his hand to suck them into the void in front of him. Soul power surged out and 2 names were engraved on each of them. The imprint on the middle-aged person is Soul Heavenly Emperor. The imprint on the child's body is Soul Destruction. What? The 5 heavenly sovereigns stood up from their positions together, and everyone's faces turned pale with a brush. Vote and bet, decide one person to die and one person to live. Soul Destruction sat on the throne with a cold gaze. Everyone, place your bet. This is a proposition. P.S. There are several chapters, but due to revisions, the comments may not match the paragraphs. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. 1 enemy and 5 puppets control the gods. Seeking collection, seeking deduction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. 1 enemy and 5 puppets control the gods. For collection, for recommendation. Everyone, place your bet. Soul Destruction sits high on the throne, like an emperor dominating the world, gazing down at the 5 heavenly sovereigns with cold eyes. The heart of Sima Zhao is well known to passers-by. The 5 heavenly sovereigns finally understand the purpose of Soul Destruction's invitation to them this time. Break free from the control of the Soul Clan and proclaim yourself king. Soul Destruction, are you going to betray your clan? How dare you make fun of the clan leader? De Tianzun let out a cold snort, his eyes sharp. Rebels. Soul Destruction chuckled and lifted its palm to crush the soul body of the Dohuang Peak. With a harmless smile on his face, Soul Destruction looked down at the 5 heavenly sovereigns from a high position. Surrender or die, choose one. You. De Tianzun's face turned red with anger, but then he sneered. If the clan knows that according to the rules of the Soul Clan, one needs to extract and refine souls, then I will see how many lives you have enough. Don't forget, the Soul Palace is just a chess piece of the Soul Clan on the mainland. It's easy for the Soul Clan to wipe out the Soul Palace. You don't have to worry about these things anymore. Soul Destruction gave a sneer and said, what kind of Soul Clan, what kind of Soul Heavenly Emperor, are all only worthy to become ants at the foot of this seat. The Soul Hall of this building will envelop the entire world, tossing clouds and rain on the Duki continent, covering the sky with one hand. Wow, wow, before he could finish speaking, a black chain had already broken through the air. With a muffled bang, a figure stumbled out of the void. Gu Yu's figure is somewhat disheveled. Soul Destruction stood with his hand down and said, don't even think of leaving today. He pointed to the soul bodies trapped by black chains on the dome of the main hall. If you go against me, your fate will be the same as theirs. The faces of the 5 great heavenly sovereigns were extremely ugly. Obviously, Soul Destruction has no possibility of letting them go at all. It is even highly likely to fall here. Soul Extinction, you probably haven't recovered from the injuries you suffered in the Sea of the Dead. The Heavenly Lord rolled his eyes and suddenly blurted out. Soul Destruction was taken aback. How did this guy know he was injured in the Sea of the Dead? If the original soul was not injured in the Dead Sea, his soul may not have been able to enter this body. Ghosts devour souls. Taking advantage of the moment when soul annihilation was stunned, the figure of the Heavenly Lord disappeared into place, and thousands of black ghosts rushed towards soul annihilation with their teeth and claws open. The breath of death and silence fills the entire hall. One move is a killing move. Ding, the system prompts that the main Divine Realm Monument and the main Divine Protection effect are triggered. Detected threatening dark attribute energy, energy evaluation 2 stars. Deprivable. Are you depriving this attribute of energy? Soul Destruction was taken aback for a moment. If it weren't for the system prompt, he would have really forgotten about this. Within 10 miles of the main Divine Realm Monument, he is a god. No. Soul Destruction gave a cold smile, it's possible to cheat but not necessary. With his strength, it's enough to beat these guys in front of him. His pupils instantly turned dark. Boom. A burst of black flames erupted, and the void swallowed flame only flipped the scroll and devoured thousands of ghosts. The blazing flames turned into a huge dragon hovering in the main hall, with 2 dark pupils emitting a devouring light. Get out of this seat. The soul power of the Soul Destruction Heavenly Realm is transformed into thousands of swords, piercing every corner of the hall. A black shadow fell to the ground with a loud bang. It's the great Heavenly Lord. The 5 heavenly sovereigns were struck by soul power, feeling dizzy and falling to the ground, howling incessantly. Soul Destruction shook its head. No one can fight. What skills do you have? Use them all, otherwise you won't have a chance. The 5 heavenly sovereigns looked down on their souls as if they were emperors in the void, their expressions horrified. This is their first time fighting against the Palace Lord, but they didn't expect the gap to be so big. Everyone, stop being clumsy and give it your all. Boo, the 5 illusions soul locking formation. The Heavenly Lord shouted loudly. The 5 heavenly sovereigns took a deep breath each, and 5 dark chains were offered together. The crisscrossing fighting spirit shattered the golden pillars inside the hall. The main hall is sunken with several zhang deep grooves. The entire hall is on the verge of collapse. Gone. The soul perished and the corners of its mouth twitched. Follow me. With one palm, he broke open the space and stepped out of the main hall. 5 chains followed closely, crisscrossing and transforming into a towering web, enveloping soul destruction in a cage transformed by the chains. The 5 heavenly sovereigns are delighted. Take action, annihilate the soul, exclaimed the heavenly lord. The black fighting spirit converged onto the cage from 5 directions, and the powerful force twisted the surrounding space, emitting black and white alternating light. Go to hell. Soul will perish. The position of the Lord of the Soul Hall should also be changed. The great heavenly Lord looked sinister. But at this moment, a sigh slowly came out. Sigh. Is that all you have? Before the words could be finished, the cage exploded with a loud bang, the chains shattered inch by inch, and the force of the backlash shook the 5 people back hundreds of feet. Soul Extinction stepped out of the void, with the corners of its mouth slightly raised. It's time for this seat. Lu Yu, Soul Control. With the palm of Soul Destruction, 6 swallowing pythons broke out and devoured all the fighting skills of the 5 heavenly sovereigns, almost simultaneously bombarding them. Blood tears drifted in the air one after another. The 5 heavenly sovereigns fell from the sky one after another. Not good. The great heavenly lord's breath was weak, and seeing the situation was not good, he tore open the void and wanted to run away. Want to run? A dark chain broke through the air and wrapped him tightly. Guyu, Blood River, Soul Jun, imprisoned before reaching Do Sheng, he was beaten to half-death with just one strike. Soul Destruction grabbed several people in the void, gripping them tightly with its 5 fingers. The immense force almost crushed the bodies of the 5 heavenly sovereigns, and the intense pain stimulated every inch of their skin. Master, spare your life. Blood River cried out in pain. Guyu is willing to surrender to the palace master. The prisoner is willing to be a cow and a horse for the temple master. A slave and a servant. I'm also willing to follow the temple master, just beg for mercy from the temple master. The heavenly lord gritted his teeth and also spoke out begging for mercy. He. Soul Destruction gave a sneer and pinched the neck of the heavenly lord. Do you think it would be great to just do this from the beginning? Tsk tisk, it's just a pity, it's too late now. Soul Destruction's eyes tightened and he pressed his hand on the head of the great heavenly lord. Please spare your life, little one. Ah! A mournful scream echoed through the sky, and the soul of the great heavenly lord was forcibly drawn out by Soul Destruction. Soul pumping. This is a punishment in the Soul Palace, where life is more than death. Ding, the system prompts that your villain value has increased by 2,000 points. It's your turn. Soul Destruction looked at the other 4 people. Master, spare your life. Ah. Ding, system prompt, your villain value plus 8,000. Soul Destruction casually threw the 5 immortal soul bodies to the Ghost Elder. Looking at the 5 bodies in front of him, his hands were full of white light. 5 puppets appeared in his hands. Control God Puppet Technique. This chapter has been modified. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. 1 Yuan Heavy Water, the power of 10,000 Juns. Seeking collection, seeking deduction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 1 Yuan Heavy Water, the power of 10,000 Juns. For collection, for recommendation. He, you should feel honored. This is the first time our sect has cast this spell. Soul Destruction threw out the 5 puppets, and the radiance converged. The 5 puppets each disappeared into the bodies of the 5 heavenly sovereigns. The 5 heavenly sovereigns formed seals with their hands, and a puppet figure mark appeared on their foreheads one after another. Invisible threads spread out, connecting them with soul destruction. After using soul power to infuse the memories of the 5 heavenly sovereigns into the puppet, the imprint gradually disappeared. Miso. The 5 heavenly sovereigns opened their eyes in unison, with a faint light emanating from their pupils, appearing somewhat demonic. 3,000 avenues, 800 side gates. Soul destruction shook its head. This technique has flaws and the strength of the manipulated person will also decrease. Puppets are ultimately puppets and cannot truly replace the soul. Go ahead. From now on, you will be the heavenly sovereign of the Soul Palace, said Soul Destruction as he stepped on his sleeve and robe in the void. Yes, Lord. The 5 heavenly sovereigns were ordered to disperse and leave. Master, what should these guys do? Gue Lao asked as he looked at the soul bodies of the 5 heavenly sovereigns on the ground. Lock them in a soul prison and burn their souls, they cannot die yet. After thinking for a moment, Soul Destruction replied. These heavenly sovereigns should have soul cards left in the soul clan and cannot be killed yet. My strength is still not enough. Soul Destruction squeezed his palm and turned back to the hall. The main divine realm monument. Soul Destruction pressed his palm up. Ding, you have a total of 26,100 villain points. Would you like to spend 10,000 villain points to exchange for a special item called 1 Yuan Heavy Water? Yes. Unable to conceal his excitement, Soul Destruction's gaze was burning as he stared at the water droplet within the boundary marker, which was only the size of a thumb. Top 10 innate divine waters. Ding, system warning, the item will be redeemed in 3 seconds. Please be prepared by the host. Warning. 3, 2, 1. Item exchange successful. Buzz. The thumb-sized water droplet penetrated the stone monument and suspended in mid-air. Just as Soul Destruction had reached out its palm, the droplet emitted a violent trembling sound. Invisible ripples surge in all directions. The dense mist will cover dozens of miles around. Click, click. Soul Extinction felt the body sink, and immense pressure enveloped it. The ground beneath my feet was cracking in waves, and the cracks spread rapidly like spider webs. With a loud bang, the ground burst and dust splattered. In an instant, the surrounding territory, which was dozens of miles away, changed its color and atmosphere. The moisture in the sky kept gathering towards the ground, and in an instant, it started pouring rain. The invisible and dull gravity field envelopes a range of dozens of miles. What's going on? The Soul Palace guards looked at everything in shock, at a loss. Is it possible that there has been an enemy attack? Gue Lao's face changed greatly, and he dragged his heavy body to the central main hall. The main hall has been enveloped by thick layers of water mist. Temple Master. The Ghost Master was shocked and pale, reaching out to try to dispel the mist. Bang! The palm collided with the mist, making a dull collision sound. Water mist remains motionless like a mountain. One word, heavy. Ghost old, I'm fine. The faint voice of Soul Destruction came out. A radius of 10 miles, don't let anyone get close. Yes. Gue Lao took orders. Inside the hull. A drop as heavy as 1,000 pounds, containing lakes, rivers, and seas, truly worthy of being one of the top 10 divine waters in heaven. Soul Destruction was enveloped in a powerful fighting spirit, holding black water droplets the size of a thumb in his palm. The water droplets floated up and down, like the rising and falling tides, driving the surrounding mist. A huge force came from the palm of his hand, and even he felt it was difficult. However, when you reach this seat, you have to lie down obediently for me. Soul Destruction gave a sharp look and said, Chaos swallows the heavenly decision, refining. The purple chi with a chaotic aura is spawned from the Dantian meridians, circulating around the Soul Destruction body, and the powerful devouring power spreads to the Yuan Heavy Water. Boom! The black water droplets suddenly burst open, instantly enveloping the soul. Chaos purple chi slowly introduces a heavy water element into the body of soul destruction. A force heavier than a mountain desperately tore through every inch of his skin, bones, and muscles and flesh. As the heavy water of Yuan exploded, the power of the water source between heaven and earth suddenly became chaotic, and the mist stirred, forming a water vapor storm that enveloped the entire soul palace, tearing apart all nearby objects into pieces. The old ghost looked worried, but also helpless. Block all news, violators will be devoured by ghosts and souls. 10 days later. The mist has mostly dissipated. A radius of 10 miles has almost become a swamp. Gue Lao sensed that the energy in the surrounding world had gradually calmed down. If he guessed correctly, at most half a day would be enough for everything to recover. Suddenly, waves of reckless laughter echoed through the sky. The old ghost's expression shook. Palace Master, we have passed the level. Inside the Soul Hall, the half-naked Soul Annihilation suddenly opened its twin eyes. Wearing a black robe and stepping out, he appeared in the void outside the palace. Feeling the power contained within my body, I punched out. Click click click. The surrounding space is like a mirror, layer by layer shattered, stretching out for thousands of feet. The power of this punch exceeds 10,000 pounds. 5-star Fighting Saint Peak. Refining Yuan of heavy water directly advanced his strength from the early stage of the 5-star Fighting Saint to the peak of the 5-star Fighting Saint. Soul Destruction nodded. Collect. With a palm grip, the misty mist engulfed the body of Soul Destruction. Congratulations to the Palace Master for leaving the level and achieving great progress in cultivation. Gue Lao knelt down on one knee behind his Soul Destruction body. Congratulations to the Palace Master for leaving the level and achieving great progress in cultivation. Congratulations to the Palace Master for leaving the level and achieving great progress in cultivation. Black-robed figures knelt on the ground, shouting and cheering echoed through the sky. Soul Destruction waved his hand to disperse everyone, and the loyalty of these subordinates had significantly increased after this anomaly. Indeed, only strength can be the most convincing. Temple Master, it seems that the ancient clan has noticed something wrong recently. A few days ago, 2 Dozong disciples were sent to try to enter the northwest region, but they were secretly eliminated by our people. Also, the next time we come to the Soul Hall to devour the soul body is not far away. What do you think we should do? Gue Lao frowned with some worry. Soul Destruction stood with hands down and a gentle smile. Don't worry, since it can't be fully occupied, then lift the blockade of the Northwest Territory and Wutan City. Of course, the action should be clean and efficient. Even if they know it's us who did it, they won't be able to find the location of our Soul Hall in a short period of time. Let the ancient clan and Soul clan fight each other. As for nihilistic swallowing inflammation, Soul Destruction chuckled and said, as long as it dares to come, I will call it never-ending. How's the girl doing? Soul Destruction asked. I haven't eaten or drunk for 3 days, the ghost shook his head. Seeking death. Soul Destruction gave a sneer. Xun'er is the bargaining chip he exchanged for the second piece of Tuasha Ancient Emperor Jade, and he also used her to obtain the Golden Emperor Fantian Yen. At least he can't die yet. Soul Extinction took a step and disappeared in place. Xun'er was in the dimly lit dungeon, looking dazed and almost unconscious. A cold voice suddenly reached her ears, causing her to shiver uncontrollably. This is the voice of the devil. I heard you want to seek death. P.S. Thank you to the anonymous person, Brother Lone Wolf, for your reward. I love you, Momoda. First update. Revised the previous chapter. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Conditions for signing a contract with the opponent. Seeking collection, seeking deduction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Conditions for signing a contract with the opponent. For collection, for recommendation. I heard you want to seek death. The icy and piercing sound lingered in her ears, and Xun'er shivered uncontrollably. A handsome and somewhat eerie face appeared before her, and Xun'er was so frightened that she let out a scream and fell to the ground. You, don't come over. Is this seat so scary? Soul Destruction took a step forward and gently hooked Xun'er's haggard cheek with her fingers. What are you doing? Xun'er's eyes were frightened. If you touch me, my dad will definitely not let you go. Ha! Soul Destruction gave a contemptuous smile and said, even if he wants to let me go, I won't let him go. As for what I want to do. Soul Destruction paused and kept approaching Xun'er. Xun'er could almost feel the breath of Soul Destruction. Done. Xun'er's eyes sparkled with tears. Don't overthink it, I'm not interested in you. The tone of Soul Destruction is indifferent. Xun'er's face turned red. You. Soul Destruction pinched Xun'er's face and looked aside. Aren't you looking for death? This seat will fulfill you. It's not easy to want to die. There are 360 different ways of dying for you to choose from in this seat, Soul Destruction joked in his eyes. He pulled Xun'er and looked to one side. At the entrance, it was pitch black and seemed like a pool of water. It was icy cold and piercing to the bone, with the sound of flowing water ticking away. Soul Destruction raised its hand and produced a cloud of emptiness and swallowing inflammation, and the surrounding scene immediately entered the eyelids. Ah! Xun'er's face turned pale instantly, she shouted loudly, and her stomach was in turmoil. Maggots! Bloody red maggots! Full of the entire Han Tan. This is the blood-eating cold Tan. Those who betray the Soul Hall will abolish their cultivation, break their limbs, and throw them here. Then, covered in blood maggots, waiting for the blood to gradually dry up. Here, those few corpses crawling with blood maggots are it. They were just thrown down by our own hands yesterday, and today there's only rotten meat left. Soul Destruction shook his head inside, saying. Xun'er's face turned white, and her whole body trembled violently. She retreated in succession and vomited out with a wow sound. Aren't you going to die? Just jump off here. Soul Destruction grabbed Xun'er and kept approaching Han Tan. No, I don't want it. Xun'er tightly grasped the hand of Soul Destruction, her eyes filled with pleading. Ding, congratulations on achieving the achievement of Evil Threat, reward villain value of 300 points. Don't want to die like this. Xun'er nodded repeatedly. Soul Destruction scratched its head and revealed a harmless smile from humans and animals, then let's change it. Miso. Soul Destruction grabbed Xun'er and came to a huge fireplace, where a faint green flame was burning below. Black-robed people were bound to chains and placed in the depths of the sea of fire, with continuous and mournful screams coming from under the huge fireplace, causing immense pain. This is the underground ghost fire of the Soul Hall. It only burns the soul and cannot harm the entity. The soul of a person in a ghostly fire will be gradually burned and annihilated. Aren't you looking for death? Just jump down from here, Soul Destruction said lightly. Oh, by the way, due to the poor effect of this kind of ghostly fire, it usually takes at least 7,749 days to completely annihilate the soul. For 49 days, every moment of life feels like death. Soul Destruction leaned close to Xun'er's ear and said word by word. De Tianzun, are you still comfortable below? Master, spare your life. I am willing to be a cow and a horse for the Temple Master. Please spare your life. Kill me, kill me. Blood River's voice was almost insane. The piercing screams of extreme pain echoed out, stimulating Xun'er's nerves. No, no, I don't want it. Xun'er covered her ears and ran out like crazy. Soul Destruction gave a sneer and lifted her hand to grab Xun'er back. With a flash of her body, she arrived at an underground abyss. A blazing breath rushed towards me. The hot magma bubbled up with a thud. Since you want to die, hurry up and save our time. I'll give you a hand here. Soul Destruction raised its hand and threw Xun'er into the underground magma. The cultivation of Xun'er and the burning of Tianyan by the Jin Emperor were both sealed. The blazing waves of fire burned every inch of the skin on the body. I'm about to fall into the magma. I don't want to die. Xun'er shouted with a painful expression on her face. Soul Destruction gave a light smile and hugged Xun'er, breaking open the space and throwing her back into the dungeon. Xun'er was thrown to the ground, her eyes staring blankly, clearly in shock. Soul Extinction burst out of the dungeon with a loud bang, leaving only a silhouette behind. If you still want to die, come find me anytime. You are satisfied with this seat bag. Jia jia jia. The sound of soul destruction echoed in the dungeon. Xun'er tightly hugged her knees, tears streaming down her cheeks. Big devil, big devil. Soul Destruction gave birth to the dungeon but returned to the side of the ghost fire stove. Lifting his palm and grabbing it out, the chain shattered with a loud bang, and a weak soul body was pinched onto his palm. Please spare your life, Lord. Please spare your life, Lord. A cold light appeared in Soul Destruction's eyes. Great Heavenly Lord, I only ask you one sentence. The Lord of the Palace only needs to ask, as long as the villain knows, he will definitely answer everything. I just hope the Lord of the Palace can give me a way to survive. The Great Heavenly Lord's soul was extremely lethargic. You are not qualified to meet the conditions of this forum. How did you learn about the news that our planet was injured in the Sea of the Dead? Its master, Elder Soul Slayer. Soul slaughtering. Soul Destruction frowned, with a slightly cold expression. The soul power of the heavenly realm is surging out, directly invading the soul of the great heavenly Lord. After half a cup of tea, Soul Destruction walked out of the dungeon with a calm face and returned to the main hall. He tapped the throne with his fingers, his eyebrows furrowed. Rubbed the center of the eyebrows. Strength, we still need to improve our strength. But relying solely on oneself to accumulate these villain values may be too slow. Soul Destruction looked at the remaining over 10,000 villain values in his hand in silence. Ding! The system kindly reminds you that villain values may not only be accumulated through the host themselves. What? What does this mean? Soul Destruction was taken aback. System prompt. The host can enter into a villainous contract with eligible individuals. 70% of the villainous value obtained by those who successfully enter into a contract with the host will belong to the host. WC. Why didn't you say it earlier? Isn't this just about developing offline? By signing a large number of contracts and letting them do bad things, wouldn't there be a continuous stream of villainous values? Ghost Old. Immediately summon all the guardians and deacons of this hall. Soul Destruction laughed, as long as we find someone who can make a contract and let them do bad things. Just a moment later. Hundreds of intermediate and senior guardians appeared in front of Soul Destruction. Everyone is unclear, so there is no explanation for Soul Destruction and rebirth. With the help of the main Divine Realm Steel, they are compared one by one. Not matching. Not matching. Not matching. The face of Soul Destruction gradually darkened, including the Ghost Elder, none of them matched. Ding, the system prompts. To enter into a contract, 3 conditions need to be met. What are the 3 major conditions? Today's first update. End of this chapter.